The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. A man named John was sent from God. He came for a testimony, to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but came to testify to the light. And this is the testimony of John. When the Jews from Jerusalem sent priests and Levites to him to ask, "Who are you?" he admitted and then did not deny it, but admitted, "I am not the Christ." So they asked him, "What are you then? Are you Elijah?" And he said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" He answered, "No." So they said to him, "Who are you? So we can give an answer to those who sent us. What do you have to say for yourself?" He said, "I am the voice of the one crying out in the desert, 'Make straight the way of the Lord,' as Isaiah the prophet said." Some Pharisees were also sent. They asked him, "Why then do you baptize if you are not the Christ or Elijah or the prophet?" John answered them, "I baptize with water, but there is one among you whom you do not recognize, the one who is coming after me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to untie." This happened in Bethany across the Jordan, where John was baptizing. The Gospel of the Lord. Are you the Christ, the one who is promised to lead us out of bondage, the Anointed One? No. Are you Elijah, our beloved prophet from 800 years ago, that we are told in Malachi 4:5, God will send before the great and awesome day the Lord comes? No. Are you the prophet? Not a prophet, the prophet, the one foretold by Moses in Deuteronomy 18:15, when he said, "The Lord your God will raise him up from among you, and it is to him you shall listen"? No. 3 attempts to figure out who this man was, and the Jewish leaders ran out of guesses, got frustrated, and decided to ask directly, "Who are you?" John the Baptist replied with his most revealing statement in Scripture as he quotes Isaiah 40, verses 3 and 4. A voice cries out, "In the wilderness prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, every mountain and hill made low. The uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain." In those times, when a king traveled, he would send his servants with announcements ahead of him. Those servants would tell the people they came across about the king's coming, and then the people would prepare a way for the Lord. They would fix up their towns, fix potholes, fill in eroded areas. Even crooked roads were redirected sometimes to become straight. They would also sort themselves out. Disputes had to stop in order for them to prepare the way. Families mended. Enemies became tolerant towards one another. Healing occurred even before the Lord's arrival, because of the herald who brought the good news. This is who John said he was for them. This is who John says he is for us. He is still announcing the way of the Lord. Our cathedral in Patterson is St. John the Baptist. We, our parish of Corpus Christi, have a statue of St. John the Baptist overlooking our baptismal font. His message is as alive and captivating today as it was 2,000 years ago. And his message, his Advent message, is sometimes lost in this hectic, busy, modern season of Christmas. His message is quite literally and simply, the Lord is coming. Yes, in its symbolic liturgical coming of Christmas on December 25th, but also in physical reality at an hour we do not know. This Advent season is our opportunity to make our paths straight, to mend our relationships with our loved ones and God himself, to recognize Christ at the core of us and the core of all those we meet. This is who John the Baptist is. He is the one who reminds us to sort ourselves out, to ready our hearts, to grow in our relationship with God, because God is here and he waits for you. The totality of you, the completeness of you, not just part of you. He wants to share everything with you. We know this. But what we may not know is, how do we do this? God has given us all the tools we need, all the instruction, all the heralds. He tells us what he desires from each one of us in this Advent season and always. When God comes, he wants to find all of us offering 3 things to him. And these 3 things are listed in today's second reading. Rejoice always. Pray without ceasing. In all circumstances, give thanks, for this is the will of God for you. Taken separately, these 3 things would be a challenge for most of us. However, God, in his infinite mercy, has given us a shortcut. And you have heard it many times in this church. If we uphold the dignity of the person standing before us, including ourselves, these 3 things become inevitable byproducts. They become emergent qualities of our behavior. And if we can recognize Christ at the core of us and everyone around us, then upholding human dignity even becomes an emergent quality of our behavior. And it all begins with the message of St. John the Baptist. It all begins with us preparing a way for us to recognize Christ at our core. It all begins with Advent. My brothers and sisters, in this Advent season, John the Baptist himself tells us to prepare a way for the Lord. Prepare a way for you to recognize Christ at the center of you, to recognize the kingdom of heaven which dwells in you, Luke 17:21. And upon that recognition, upholding the dignity of ourselves and others becomes obvious and simple. And once that happens, we will rejoice always. We will pray always. We will give thanks always. This is the totality of you that God desires. This is Advent. Now, in a few moments, we will say the words, and Jesus will come. It is my prayer that at our reception of the Eucharist this day, we may make straight our path to Christ within each one of us.